Well, good morning, everybody. It is Monday, June 5th, approximately 7:30. We are at the Policy and Personnel Committee. And our first agenda item is the 23-24 employee handbook changes. We did send an invite out for an invitation to our staff to come and as a feedback session to kind of listen and dialogue back and forth if that was the will of the group. So I guess I'll just turn it over to anybody who would like to speak. We'll kind of start with the employee handbook, and then after that we do have policy 187, public participation after that. So
thank you all for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, board members, for being here.
Of course. Anybody want to kick it off?
I'll start. So first of all, with the unpaid days.
Can we go over the names?
Oh, I'm not gonna pass, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, 6th and 7th grade language arts, so. I just wanna start by, I've never ever had to take a unpaid day before, which I've been lucky to not have to do that. But 2 years ago, when I was on maternity leave, I used my accumulated sick time, to get paid during my maternity leave, and used all of my days, and got very, very close to needing to take an unpaid day. And for any other like new moms, like it takes a long time to build that time up. And to know that like I would have to potentially take an unpaid day and also have to pay for my benefits and, you know, possibly a sub or whatever just doesn't sit well with me. And even, you know, I had to use all of my time, and then last year, my daughter got RSV, we got hit with the stomach flu, I had COVID, we had a lot of situations, and I think, you know, anyone who works with me knows that, like, I pretty much have to be dying to miss school, and I don't use my sick time, but I didn't have a lot accumulated up because I had to use all of that for my maternity leave, so I guess that's my biggest concern, I'm just speaking for myself, so, yeah.
And Megan, our proposals for all non-FMLA situations, so maternity leaves or severe sickness and things like that are, you know, sick days are very different than unpaid days.
But
So,
because I use all my sick time, right, like I would have had to take unpaid days had, you know, been hit with COVID and Quinn has to be out for RSV, she couldn't go to daycare, like things like that.
I've had
Once your sick
six
time's
too.
gone, right, then you have to lose.
correct,
Okay.
once your sick time would be up, but then ultimately, if you, again, every year you get an allotment of 10 days, again, if there is a severe illness and it's non-FMLA, and again, ultimately, there is language in there that there's a dialogue back and forth with the administrator too as well to be
Is
able
the
to
stomach flu
do that.
considered a severe
Well,
illness?
it's,
I don't know.
you know, but if, you know, the severe illness, yes, it would be. I
Okay.
mean, and ultimately, there's doctor's notes that are involved and stuff like that too as well, because if there's a doctor's note, all of a sudden it's a, you know, something a little bit different too as well. What the unpaid days are really taking a look at is people who just are planning additional days, who notify us and say, hey, Ron, or, you know, Steve, or Becca, or Jen, I need another 2 days off because of this, and they're pre-planned and things like that. As highlighted before, we had over 50 days of unpaid days from our support staff. Again, this is really kind of something that we're taking a look at from our support staff standpoint. And again, we've also heard that, Ron, why don't you just talk to those people? I'm like, well, we had 12 out of 20 people take some part of unpaid time that was non-sickness, non-related to FMLA or anything else like that. It's something that we have been discussing as an administrative team. We brought it to the more informally to the board, for those who have been on the board for a little bit. And again, we're just really trying to make sure that that educational continuity comes in, because we know all the way from when a teacher's gone to support staff are gone. Again, we have no problem putting a puzzle together. It's not about the end on our stuff, it's about what happens on your guys' end. Truly is when we can't fill those positions too. So, but Megan, really what we're talking about is kind of planned unpaid time. It's not the sickness, things come up, FMLA whatsoever. Those would continue to run as is.
So in those situations, you wouldn't have to pay your benefits back and all that?
If it's an FMLA situation, no.
So, can I, a couple things here.
Yeah.
One, we haven't approved this.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
to say you wouldn't have to, we haven't approved it, so it doesn't actually exist right now.
Okay.
So it's just what the administrative team has brought forth.
Mhm.
Just I wanna clarify, because I'm confused a little bit. So, had baby, wonderful. Had maternity leave, but then also utilized accumulated sick days in addition to maternity leave, or I guess that's where I was confused.
All of my leave was gone besides personal days, and actually I had a grandparent pass away, and administration was very nice to let me still go to the funeral. But then the next year when I got 10 new days, because I had no time, my daughter got very sick like 3 different times, and I got hit with COVID, and so it.
Okay, so I just wanted to clarify, you did get 10 new days, we did not give you those.
But no, but
okay.
all of those days ended up having to get used, and I was very close to, like, if one more thing happened, I would have had to use unpaid days.
Okay.
I guess that's kind of what I was trying to say.
Got it, okay.
Go ahead.
So, Katie Glovic, hi. Ron, can you just kind of, not in super detail, but maybe just like for those of us that the only experience we have with FMLA is maternity leave, like what broad kinds of things are covered under FMLA?
Sure. First of all, FMLA is covered for whenever you are going to be gone 3 consecutive days. Okay, so an FMLA basically protects the job in which you have, and when you come back, that job is there for you. Okay, so we get all sorts of FMLAs, whether it's for sick children, if they are going to be out caring for parents, caring for a spouse or wherever it might be, and it could be intermittent as well, back surgeries as well. Again, so any type of illness, either medically related to a dependent or a family member who would be covered underneath that, is covered underneath FMLA, and again, that would be considered sick time.
So, sorry, I just wanna clarify, there's a lot to learn in the education side. So for FMLA, so in Megan's case, with her daughter being ill, I'm assuming more than 3 days?
Well, we had different illnesses, but yeah, she had RSV, she had like
And like
viral.
COVID
Yeah.
is an automatic, is it still 5?
No,
It's not?
It was at the time.
it was at the time. I mean, that was a correct,
So
that was at the time.
So they have to use their personal time before FMLA?
Correct. Before you get to unpaid time, you need to utilize all of your paid PTO, or
Okay.
paid time off. You have to utilize all of your sick time, and then any personal time that you would have before it gets to unpaid in an FMLA situation.
That's not the question she asked. She asked, what gets used first, FMLA or sick?
Sick.
Sick is part of FMLA. FMLA is just a program that protects your job. That's all it is. So you would use, whenever you're gone for a sick child, you would use your sick paid time.
But with FMLA, you're getting paid.
With with FMLA, you use all of your sick time, and just use Megan's situation here. Megan was with us and she had almost 60 days accumulated. So FMLA for maternity leave is 12 weeks.
And how many sick days do you get?
We get 10 a year.
10 a year.
10 sick days.
Mhm.
And how many personal days, can I ask?
We get 2.
Two.
I get one.
And then you accrue 2 after so many years.
Just throwing it out there, so we're all on the
Yeah.
same page.
Which
So a
also-
teacher
I'm not
gets
picking
12,
on you.
Yeah,
so
no.
a teacher, a classification of a teacher gets 12 paid PTO days. 10 of them are allocated for sick. Again, there's certain criteria that fits in sick time. And then they have 2 personal days which can be used for anything they choose for.
And really they're hours, right, like.
Or hours. I mean,
guess
for a
it-
teacher, it would be
it
equated.
accumulates and it basically is 10 days, but like if you get sick in the middle of the day, you can use a certain amount of hours of your sick time.
Or if your husband can cover for your daughter and,
Right.
okay.
Not in the profession. He doesn't go, he doesn't make money.
I hear you.
And again, we're trying to, that's
Okay.
the situation.
And
Yep.
if I could just add in Lauren Bartel, Megan has her situation, she's been here for longer, I just got here from Pewaukee, and her situation with maternity leave, well, I'm new here, I came from Pewaukee, I had 15 years of accumulated sick days, and then I come here and got nothing. So there's all these different like factors that come into play, like someone maybe it's a disadvantage.
And is it similar to what you, not, aside from your time accrued in Pewaukee, how did Pewaukee, how was their time? Are we similar? Is our model similar?
I don't believe there is, well, I'm a person like Megan, if I'm like dead, I'm not here, I've got a kid
Sure.
at home sick today with my husband, I'm gonna be here. So like unpaid days were never in my like vernacular.
But did you get 10 sick and 2 personal? Is that pretty
Yeah,
standard?
and 2 personal and would roll over, but like that, I appreciate that the board has taken off the table the the possibility of people paying for a sub, but the insurance part on top of, like, getting back pay is, not really typical.
Yeah, it's more than what I make a day.
Leah,
Mark-
I didn't mean to interrupt you, were you done?
Yeah, I just kinda wanted to
And
know,
I'm sorry.
because I wasn't sure, like what, because I just had my second baby last year, and I didn't have enough time, I only had like 2 years in between babies, so I didn't have enough time to accrue enough
Yeah.
sick days to pay for my whole maternity leave, so I took a lot of maternity leave unpaid, but that was because of FMLA, that I was allowed to do that under that, so I
Correct.
took a bunch unpaid, but,
Yeah.
yeah.
But there's different stakes for different people, and it's almost like a discouragement for someone to come here from a different district, to be like, oh, okay.
Because
Well,
because you've
Lost.
lost yours,
So
okay.
many
So my
like
question
days.
there is are other school districts, to your knowledge, are other school districts then saying, we'll match that you're walking away from? Okay. So it's an industry-wide thing, when
it's
you
a-
leave, you lose.
It's a it's a risk and a loss.
Yeah. But I'm just, so that we
Yep,
understand,
yep,
because I've only been on the board 2 years,
Yeah.
Nikki's been on for a year. I just wanted to understand the industry,
norm.
industry dynamic,
Yeah.
if you will.
Yeah.
I call it education
so
industry,
it kind of gets people stuck in a place,
Right.
if you will.
right, got it.
And
Or
Laura, just to be
emergencies.
clear though, you did receive 10 sick days.
Yep.
Yeah, so you
I
kind of said you
did,
received
yeah.
nothing. No,
Oh, I'm
no, you
sorry.
said nothing. I just want
Well,
to make
you
sure you
lost your
received 10.
15.
Correct, no, I
Correct.
lost, 15 years times all that,
Yeah,
a lot.
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. And Kim, I know you mentioned something, or somebody mentioned that, or Lauren, I think you might have mentioned that industry standard in education is not to do insurance, and industry standard is not to cover the sub, but it is pretty common for non-FMLA situations that an unpaid day is an unpaid day, total comp,
Including benefits.
including benefits.
I mean, my name's Kim Grimes, I took FMLA this year because my husband had unexpectedly had to have open heart surgery. And so I was off, and I used up all my days plus some, and then I too got sick a day or two after that. And to be docked for the insurance, and even if it's a sub, either one is more than I make in a day. So that's a lot.
Including the $1.50 raise next year.
Yeah, including that, it's more than I make in a day.
We appreciate the benefits, right? Like,
Yeah.
paying for the benefits.
Understood.
But there, I can also say, there's multiple times I have given up my lunch to work with students. I have been here after, I have come in early, that has never been reimbursed for me for pay-wise. And so, I've not said anything, I just do it because it's what's in best interest of the kids. And so when something like this comes up, it's like, dang, how much more are you gonna squeeze out of me when there's so many times I've given and not done a tally board to show you everything that I've given?
Again, it's not approved.
I know,
Because
but
I understand,
Thank goodness.
I just wanna be clear, because I think, we use language all the time.
Mhm.
And so, when you say we're squeezing you, but we haven't approved anything, so I just,
I realize that.
okay, I just wanna be clear, because I
And we
don't want it to
appreciate-
look like this is approved when it's not approved, so I'm gonna continue to stress like, it's not approved.
And we appreciate you going above and beyond and doing what's best for the kids in the schools. Thank you for that.
So, thank you for this opportunity to clarify, because
Can you introduce yourself?
and I'm Becky Crowley, I'm a special education teacher at the intermediate school, and so the board doesn't always know necessarily what things look like in motion, right?
Yeah.
And so I just wanna clarify, so is the paying for a sub when you're taking an unpaid day, is that still on the table as a potential policy?
Okay, so,
Okay,
at the last board meeting, I
okay,
think there were at least 3 of us at the board meeting that said we didn't support it.
okay,
In the draft that Dr. Russ has put in front of us today, he has crossed that portion out.
okay, thank you for
It's not supported
clarifying
by the
that,
board.
okay.
I'm Becca Foss, I'm a special education teacher at the intermediate school as well. I have a question about the paying back for insurance. If you are someone who takes, cash in lieu, for example, would you still be, why can't I think of the word? Would you still have to pay the insurance back if you take an unpaid day, if you're doing the
First,
cash.
if it's a cash in lieu, then we would divide the cash in lieu divided by the number of paid days. So yes, so cash in lieu, whether you're a cash in lieu or insurance, the proposal would be a total comp for that day.
Do you have that number?
Would be
For cash.
5,000, be divided, for this upcoming year, it'd be 5,000 divided by 195 for teachers.
So, and I'm wondering like, where's that money like going to? Like, why is that? I'm just wondering why. I'm just asking the question. Like, where's that money going? Why are we doing that? I
Sure.
don't
Well,
understand
first of all,
that
we're
part.
trying to,
2565.
yep. So, first of all, what we're trying to do is solve a problem, right? And what we know, and again, this is what what I would say, this is a support staff concern that we have, because when we take a look at our unpaid time for our staff that are not FMLA or sick related, okay? It is negligible, and we work with those people. They come into us and they say, hey, I've got a once in a lifetime event. Okay, what can we do? Can we borrow a head? Can we do this? We have been very accommodating, and what we're trying to do with our support staff is do something very similar to that. Hence the reason why we put in 3 days, over a 3-year period for something that is unique. And if something else comes up, we know some other things are gonna come up. It states in there that you can certainly talk to the administration, and away we go. But we just see it as a big concern for educational continuity in our support staff. Again, like we said, 12 out of 20 people utilized unpaid time a year ago that was not designed or used for sick time. That was, I just want another day, I want to go up north, I want to take a 5-day vacation, I want to do this. And for the last 3 or 4 years, during COVID and during some of our really tight employee times, we've been very accommodating. And if you say yes to one person, eventually word got out, and that all of a sudden now you can just take a day, and it just costs me the day, that just my hourly rate, okay? So where did we come up with the insurances and things like that? Is we are trying to deter people from taking more days than what is allowed per our handbook and what we've designated, okay? Because in our letters of appointment, we tell them what days, how many days approximately we want them to work, how many hours, and when we want them here. We give them the school year calendar, right? I mean, we give them a school year calendar. And we know that, and I understand that not everybody's personal situations funnel through a school year calendar. But when we take a look at the support staff times when they're off, when kids aren't here, it's approximately 175 to 177 days. And again, somebody at the board, again, a parent mentioned that there were 29 days off from September 1st to the end of the school year. That would be even more for support staff. Our teachers are here for professional development and things like that. So why are we trying to? And then when we do our research about what we're trying to, what do other school districts do? They're like, well, if you take an unpaid day, it is an unpaid day, which means the entire compensation which the district provides for you would be considered unpaid. We're not terming your insurance for that day, but you would pay us back because the district has promised to give this to you in return for 175, 178 days of work. So that's really where we're trying to solve a problem, is to really bring in educational continuity, because we know when someone is absent, it's disruptive, it is, and we understand it. We're gonna make accommodations, and this is why this is for non-sickness, non-FMLA situations, is really what we're taking a look at.
Gotcha. So I guess my follow-up to that is, you said there were 12 out of 20 support staff, so I don't understand why this is like all staff are being considered in this. Then I guess if your main concern is the support staff, I'm wondering, why is this like an all staff thing then? Like, why can't, I'm not saying I won't punish our sports staff, please don't say that that's what I'm trying to say at all. I'm just trying to say, I guess in my opinion, I feel that if this is just specific to one group, why is the entire district paying for that?
We certainly could.
I'm just,
look at,
not that I want to, I'm just saying.
Right.
I'm just wondering.
Just because we put it into Part 1 provision to say that,
Sure.
it's just, again, we don't really see a big concern with our professional staff, with the classification of Section 2 teachers under contracts and things like that.
So clearly this is a hot topic issue. What alternatives, if we had to come up with a solution, what other ideas can we, do you not need 10 sick days, do you need just a blanket 12 days? So Heidi raised her hand first.
Heidi, 5th grade. I'm gonna read this portion of my notes. We have someone on staff currently abusing his sick days because, and I don't have my readers, because of this, thank you. I'm gonna start over.
Perfect.
We have someone on Zoom. We have someone on staff currently abusing his sick days, and because of these, they now make a policy to punish all staff. I raised my hand because I felt this matched what Becca was just saying. I choose to look at this from a different lens. If the district were smart, they would reward teachers at the end of their careers by paying them for all the sick days that were not used. This rewards high attendance rates, and that trickles down to a host of great things. But again, we are more of a punishment environment than a reward environment. I'm sure glad we do not run our classrooms this way. And as long as I have the floor, may I continue? I want to thank the board who learned that after hemorrhaging staff for the past 11, 12 years, they have finally decided that they want to retain and attract talent. How do they want to do this? By decreasing cash in lieu of by $1,000. Logic would tell you that they should be incentivizing staff to not take insurance to save the district money, but instead they take away. And Ron, I know you and I had a private conversation about this, but I never mentioned this in the, hindsight is 20/20 after we talked, I failed to mention that. We are a gotcha district. When you have done something wrong, there is swift punishable action. For me personally, it was a letter in my file. I share a funny Jerry Brooks video with the staff. Jerry Brooks is a principal in Kentucky. What's really ironic is that a few years later, many staff members went to a conference and listened to Jerry Brooks to give a keynote address. I always wish that administration would have pulled me aside and had a conversation with me about this rather than putting a letter in my file. I had no idea I was doing something wrong. Talk is cheap. In a district where we already do not feel valued, except by PTO, you now want to impose more policies. Do you know that teachers who have left here go on to make $10,000 to $12,000 more than what they were making here? So until your actions start meeting your desires to want to retain and attract talent, I'm afraid with all of your policies, you've got it wrong. That's all I have to say. Thank you for listening.
Hi, Stephanie, support staff, one of the problems in the building. I make $83 a day working here. That is before taxes, okay? I do not stop moving while I'm here. I barely have time to go to the bathroom. I barely have time to get anything done. I do not get a lunch because I am only 5.25 hours, which is fine because I have lots of snacks in my bag at all times. The problem is that life does not happen just during the school year. I personally still have 35.5 hours of sick time left because I don't take sick time. Yes, in January, I do take time off. I have the last 2 years. I am very appreciative of that. The problem is that I don't want to miss out on things. Life is way too short. My mother-in-law died last year. My father-in-law is by himself. I want to be able to spend time with them, to do things with them. But because I work in this building, in this job, you're not allowed to take time off whenever you want, which I get. I get we have our entire summer off. I get I only work 74 days, you said? I get that. But when I am here, I am working my tail off. I do not stop, and it would be nice if instead of one personal day, we were given, 6 or 7 days to use however we'd like. Not to mention I have 2 children that go to this school. I have missed out on field trips, chaperoning and doing things with them because I work here and I can't take time off because I get one personal day. That is it. So I think the days that we're allotted need to be reevaluated and changed to accommodate the working mom who is also a staff member in this building. Again, I am very grateful for this job. I love this job. I love this building. I love the staff. What I don't love is the constant belittlement of my job because I am a support staff person. And I get that teachers do a lot and you guys work super, super hard, but so does the support staff. And the constant saying that it's a support staff problem is like, little, like, I don't know, it's just not, it's not nice.
And I wanna clarify, I wasn't trying.
I know you're not, I know, I know you're not.
Believe me,
I
I
get
don't know
it.
what I would do without my, I'm not trying to say anything
I
against
get
support staff
that
at
we
all.
need
That's
to,
not what
like-
I'm trying to do.
It's just like, I don't know,
What I'm saying
I know
is,
you're not trying to
what
attack
I'm
support
saying,
staff,
I'm
but
not trying
it
at all.
just feels like support staff, if it's 20 out of, or 12 out of 20 support staff is doing this, and I'm like,
Well,
yes, I am one of the people doing it, but I'm doing it because life is short. And again, I am here, I am not, I don't stop moving, I do my job, I work really hard. But again, life doesn't just happen in the summertime, it happens all year round, and I don't wanna miss out on things because I only get one personal day.
Well, and hearing you, and you had asked for solutions, and I think about, I worked in Waukesha like a decade ago, and I know there was a culture of lying about your sick days, like, I'm gonna be sick, I'm gonna be sick tomorrow, you know, right? And then if you were like caught out in the community, like, God forbid you stop at the grocery store on your way home from a doctor's appointment, and then you'd get called in to the office, and you get that letter in your file, right? I stayed in Waukesha for 2 years, and I left because that was a culture that was awful. I love Merton. I live 10 minutes up the road. I'm a part of the community. I run into kids at Meyer, which is kind of like weird sometimes, but also great, right? This is a place that I want to stay for a long time, and thinking about solutions rather than, and culture, right? You know, the culture kind of eats policy for breakfast, right? Thinking about ways to use, instead of like allocating that time as sick time and personal time, right? Maybe that could be a potential solution, where it isn't that gotcha. Like, hey, what are you doing at Meyer? You're sick, you're at the whatever, right? Maybe that could be something, that could be a different way of looking at that time as a potential solution.
And I just want to say for the record, policy isn't a gotcha. That is not our intent. I know it's never fun to
No.
implement new things, not our intent. It has not been touched in 20 years.
No.
And think of technology and YouTube and just life in general 20 years ago versus today. I mean, we're absolutely in a different society and a culture. So nothing is intended to be gotcha or hurtful. It's time, in fairness to all.
I mean, I would agree. We get, and when I say we, and I say the board over the last several years, we get the lucky responsibility to be the ones to look at our policies, whether it's the employee handbook or the big book, or contracts for our administrative team, and say, boy, prior boards before us didn't update or do anything. And that's not a shot at the prior boards, it's just a fact. Sorry about it. We are the ones that have to now raise our hands and say, this isn't right, we have to update this. And then, you know, we're bad guys. Get it, understand it. I just wanna speak to, there's a lot of different themes here. I appreciate all that, I really do, and the passion that all of you have. All of this is incredibly difficult to try to find a solution that's gonna work for everybody. That's gonna work for the teachers, the support staff, the administrative team, the taxpayers that fund all this. It's not easy. And the unfortunate thing in all of this is that some people are gonna be happy, some people aren't gonna be happy. It could be the teachers this time, it could be the taxpayers when we're running a deficit, blowing through a bunch of cash, because that's just the world we live in today. So I just wanna communicate that we hear you, we're trying to tackle a bunch of problems here that just aren't that easy to solve without, unfortunately, making some people upset at us. that's not our intention going into this, to be like, who should we give it to this time? That's not the way we're going in this trying to say, how do we collectively as a group share in the responsibility of trying to solve this? So I understand what Ron's trying to do. He's looking at this and saying, I have to oversee this entire thing. So I want to put a policy in place that maybe doesn't single out only certain people. I don't even know if we can do that legally or not. He's looking at it saying, this is like a moral contract we have with our employees. We're gonna pay you a wage, you agree to work with us, you know, we expect these numbers of days. And he's trying to control costs in a year where our costs are through the roof. $800,000 higher than last year. That's like 8 or 9% higher. We're not getting 8 or 9% new money coming in from the state. If we do, that's amazing, but I don't think we will. I get what he's saying. I think we have, I've said it before, I think we have a harder job to do in the next 12 months to put together something that is wholesale different than what we've been doing for attracting and retaining talent. And so, I said it the other day at the board meeting, I didn't agree with what he had put in place. Nikki didn't either, that's why we're here. But we really aren't trying to railroad one group of people or an entire population. We're really trying to solve all these little problems. Cash in lieu, $185,000 increase in 1 year. How do we pay for that? You know, so I hear you. It's tough. It's really tough. That wasn't a decision we came, like, I get it. That the optics of that isn't good. I totally get it. But $185,000, that's a lot to swallow in 1 year when we're used to maybe a little bit. So I think, at least the way I look at this, Ron's doing his job of what he's supposed to try to curb something. I get it. We don't necessarily agree with that, and we're trying to come up with a solution for this year with the idea that we can spend, hopefully, the next 12 months, and we're coming up with something that is different. So, you know, and a change to help attract, retain, and grow this district. Sorry, that was a soapbox.
Well, I was just gonna say, you know what, I've taken some days off without, or pay or whatever, because when my son competes at nationals, I'm not gonna miss that. You know, when I had an opportunity to go to Mexico, I used 2 of my personal days, and we worked it out, or I got my friends to work it out around a 3-4 day weekend that we had, and you took 2 unpaid days. And part of it is, I'm like, no offense, I don't make that much money. So that's not an excuse to say, oh, well, I can just do without it. But to pay back more than what I'm even making in a day, if I choose to take a day unpaid for some of those things, feels like a punishment. And like I said, there are so many things that we all do as, I even hate the word aid, because I'm not an aide. More times than not, I'm actually teaching, and I do have my teaching degree, but I'm working with these kids, and it's just, a lot of times don't feel appreciated. Not by the people who I work with. I know they appreciate everything I do, but it's the people who aren't around and don't see what we do and see how hard we're working and how many times we've given up our lunch and how many times we've done this and all these things that really aren't what we're, you know, are in our job description. And I realize everybody does things not in their job description, but it feels like an attack. It really does. And I feel like for everything I give, why? You know, I think I'm the only, whatever you wanna call me, that is certified to teach. And as of late, I've been pulled to go teach classes. I don't get compensated anything extra like the staff does. And granted, it's not my planning time, but if I probably worked it out, I'd get paid more that way. but I don't, I get nothing. And so I feel like, you know, I'm helping you out, can't you help me out?
I'm Michelle, or kids know me as Miss K around here, but anyway, I came, and see, I'll probably get all emotional again, because I hate public speaking. But I talked with Nikki and Ron 2 weeks ago when this came up, and I was the only one that showed up. And I know I talked to a lot of people, but you know, some people had kids, so 7:30 didn't work for them, and I get that. And I told them that it didn't feel right to have to take your unpaid and then you have to pay back. And I appreciate the board taking that kind of off the table, or it seems like you're leaning that way. But I've been here over 13 years, and I don't think I really have abused the unpaid time off. However, I will say my son is a junior at college, so the last 3 years, I've saved my 2 personal days, taken those for spring break, and Ron has graciously, as well as Becca, and I guess Becca would have been the first year, they've approved my unpaid. So I could have a family vacation. And I'm thankful that my son still wants to do that at this point in time. But eventually he's gonna be in the real world, and he won't be able to do that. And with this 3-year rolling, I talked to Ron, and it's like, well, yep, if he was a freshman this year, you could take the 3 years, I, you know, prove it, whatever. But his sophomore and junior year, I could not have taken that off. Unless I wanted to say, oh, Monday I'm sick, Tuesday, Wednesday I'm taking, and I would never do that. I feel bad when I take time off from school. But I was just, and I told him, how many times over the years, Ron, he's been around when Mike was here, hey, Michelle, I walk in the door, can you stay late? We need coverage. 9 times out of 10, it's yes, I can. Or let me move around some stuff. And I'm getting ready to leave at 1. Michelle, can you stay? We need this. Sure, no problem. And so when I told him that I didn't think I took advantage the last 3 years when I've had the 3, and it's all on recording, you can see me, because I was getting upset. I'm an abuser of that policy, because I took 3 days. But here I am, I'm going above and beyond whenever they ask. So I feel like maybe I'm entitled. Entitled's the wrong word. I think I should be given extra consideration that way. Whereas if someone just comes in and does their job, that's fine, because that's what they're paid for. But maybe they want 5 or 6 extra days unpaid. I think I should maybe get a little bit more consideration because I go above and beyond when it's asked of me, or I volunteer, that type of thing. So I felt really, Nikki and Ron are really good about listening to me, and I appreciate that. But when I left, I felt a little frustrated that I didn't feel valued after leaving that meeting. So, and that's where I stand. Just, you know, more emotional than anything, but.
Well, I value each and every one of you, so thank you. I could not do your job, so I appreciate you.
Thank you for all the times you came over to the intermediate school
Oh.
this year and saved us.
I love I love the kids. So.
I guess upon thinking of solutions, I have a question. Is there a specific reason why the time we have off is allocated for sick versus personal? It doesn't cost the district anything different, right? You're banking a certain amount of money each year for each employee. Does it have to have a name to it? Can we, this is another thing, can we roll it over? Because if I choose not to take my personal day, I get paid out in July at $10 an hour. The district doesn't have to pay me my regular wage, so it's encouraging me to use my personal day, right, during the year, taking away from students. Which doesn't make sense to me, but.
Say that again, in the summertime, if you don't use your personal
If you
time.
don't use your personal day during the school year, you get paid out at $10 an hour, July 1st,
Because it doesn't roll over.
because it doesn't roll over.
Okay.
At least for
And
support
for
staff.
example,
Yeah.
you make 20 an hour, like,
Well,
I'm just,
not
No.
quite.
I'm just throwing numbers out there.
No,
But it's
no,
less,
lower than
less
that.
than what we make.
Right. So I think to incentivize people, number one, to not take off during the school year, at the very least out of respect, I guess what we make an hour
Yes.
in July. But I would love, if I have that once in a lifetime vacation, to be able to save my days, sick or not, to roll over. Say I aspire to go to Hawaii in 2025, I'll never be able to afford to do it, but if I wanted to, I would love to be able to bank my days and not have to pretend like I'm sick to go on a vacation, because again, if you go during spring break or you go during summer, the prices are astronomically different. They're so much higher because that's when all families take vacations. So I would like the flexibility to be able to use those days because it doesn't cost the district anything different, right? Use them when I want to, in a way that I want to. My kids are little. We're gonna use it for sick time every time right now in my life. That's where we're at. But eventually, I'll get to the point where my kids are a little more resilient and their immune systems are a little better. And I would maybe like to go on a vacation with them. We don't go on vacations, but someday I'd like to, right? And again, we've heard many times, life doesn't just happen during a school year. So if there are opportunities, our families and our personal lives are important as well. So to be able to make a choice to spend a weekend with my mom or an extra long weekend with my mom, when I get one personal day, maybe next year I get two, I don't know how many years before that jumps up. I feel like a little flexibility on those things would help me feel a little more appreciated. Does that make sense? Did I go off on like a nonsensical tangent?
No, that was great.
Okay.
I think Michelle had her hand up first
Just-
and then.
Just real quick, Ron did point out as a possible solution of PTO paid time off, where you get like 6 or 7 days and then it's used for at your discretion, but when it's gone, and then it has to go into, something else or a different conversation. I would love that because I've been here so long, I have over 200 hours of sick time. So if I wanted to take my PTO, go on a spring break, I still have 1 or 2 days left, and then if I get the flu, I have my sick time to fall back on. Some of the newer hires though, it would be a little bit more difficult because they haven't accrued the sick time. But Ron was throwing out, a few, the PTO and.
And again, that's kind of going back to what Andrew was talking about, is taking a look at, and again, the issue is some people value sick time, some people value paid time off, or personal time.
Yes.
Right? Didn't mean use it. So if you take a look at a bucket of, paid time off, you get 6, let's just say 5 or 6 days. Make it easy, 5, right? You get 5, those are used for whatever you want to throughout your time, that year. Then if you have an FMLA situation, then the issue would be is the following year, do you